All right, guys, welcome back. My final one of the night. I have two more Bond films to do after this, and then I can get to my rankings. But I'm pleased to announce the Goldfinger review. So I've seen Goldfinger like maybe 3 or 4 times before this. I wasn't raised on Goldfinger, but I was very aware of it, and yeah, pleased to say this one holds up. Like I was disappointed with Doctor No and From Russia with Love that I'm like these don't hold up like I thought they would, and they're not as good as I remember. Goldfinger's just as good as I remember. Now that I've watched some other Bond films, maybe it's not exactly ranked as high as I thought, but that's not like a knock on it. That just means there's other ones I like maybe slightly more. But Connery's probably at his best in this one. I like the way he looks in a suit in this one. I'm like, yeah, like that's what James Bond should be looking like. The Kentucky setting, the little horse ranch that Goldfinger has for himself that takes place during like the middle part of the film towards the end. I really liked a lot. I thought that was good. Yeah, the settings in this are good. The car chase that happens, I think that's in Scotland, where like Connery's sitting there with the Aston Martin, the DB5, and he's just like chilling, looking at the view and looking at Goldfinger. That's good stuff. Odd Job is a good henchman. One of the best henchmen ever. He's really iconic. And Goldfinger's just iconic. And I would say my favorite part with Goldfinger, and it's definitely the laser scene where, like Bond's like, well, I know about Operation Grand Slam. And he's like, yeah, 2 words. He's like, that you probably picked up that you have no idea what you're talking about. He's like, I think we'll be okay. All that's good. Goldfinger is the gold standard, and I think other people have used that before, but basically it set the template for like, this is the formula to make a great James Bond film. The opening scene is not anything that's important to the rest of the movie. It's a day in the life of the hero. Raiders of the Lost Ark did that with the opening thing, even though Belloc is the one that stole the idol. It's basically, this is the day in the life of this guy. So the start is great, and then we get to actually like we get to see Goldfinger. I'm trying to even think. Oh yeah, so the Miami scene, like that's how he gets introduced. That Miami, I think it's just a hotel. That's like stuff that's I think interesting and they hold your attention. And I like the runtime of this movie is an hour and 50 minutes. I feel like that's the perfect length. Obviously, if you have more story to tell, you can do it longer. But it's crazy that like No Time to Die is like a full hour more than this. I might be wrong on that, but I feel like No Time to Die is almost 3 hours long. Let me look at the runtime real quick, just because I'm curious if I'm right on that. But an hour and 50 minutes just flew by for me. I didn't have an issue with it. Let's see. Surely it's here somewhere. I'll get to it. Give me 1 second. 163 minutes. Yeah, it's 2 hours and 43 minutes long. No Time to Die is. Which, if I remember correctly, when I did that review, I said that the first hour flew by, so therefore it doesn't feel as long as that runtime. But yeah, this is almost a full hour less, and I feel like we get everything that we need. The climax of Fort Knox, I feel like, is satisfactory and good. The plane thing at the end, where Goldfinger's there and then he gets sucked out of the plane, iconic, but at the same time, I feel like that was a little tacked on. You could have just had the climax stay at Fort Knox and not really add that part in, but that's fine. Pussy Galore, like in my memory, I always think of her as a bad chick and never like. I guess I just always forget that Bond actually turned her and she switched the canisters out. But yeah, I love the plot of this. I love what Goldfinger's scheme is that, like, when James breaks it down, he's like, I've done the math, and he's like, the gold that you'd be trying to steal is way too heavy, would take you too long, and you'd get caught. And he's like, yeah, so, and Goldfinger's kind of, not want to say getting off, but like he really is enjoying watching James try to piece together what's his brilliant plan, because he's pretty proud of himself. But yeah, it's a really good plan that basically he's going to set off a small nuclear reaction that's basically just going to pollute the and cause the gold that's already in Fort Knox to basically be worthless, and causing his gold to skyrocket in value. Like he says, like 10 times if he's being like modest. I think that's a really good plot for a Bond film. And, we get the M scene at the beginning where I think it's funny because it's the first one we ever get where he's like, what do you know about gold? You could literally. I'm surprised someone hasn't made a compilation where that guy that plays M, I forgot his name, where basically he does that in every movie. What do you know about Codename Thunderball? What do you know about Moonraker? What do you know about Scaramanga? What do you know about like he just asks the same thing in every movie, and it's kind of comical. Yeah, so for me, I don't really have a whole lot of complaints about Goldfinger. Like I said, I feel like everything works. I guess in my mind, I always forget that the chick at the beginning is the girl that gets like painted gold. And then I completely forgot about the girl in the middle that like takes a shot at James, but she's like, actually, I was trying to shoot Goldfinger. I completely forgot about that girl. I was like, I had no memory of this. Yeah, but I really don't feel like there's a wasted scene. You could say maybe that like James spends a little bit too much time at the Kentucky ranch, like being the prisoner, maybe, but all of it's like either good scenery or telling you a little bit more about Goldfinger's scheme, or having some good moments with Pussy Galore. So yeah, like I said, Goldfinger is a great Bond villain. He's definitely up there, and for most people, they might put him number one. He might not be number one for me. One of the reasons is just like his voice is dubbed, which I've never heard his original voice, that actor. But maybe they dubbed it for a reason. But the guy that dubbed it did a pretty good job. But Goldfinger is just strong in his presence, I think, like throughout the movie. And this is not like a physically imposing guy necessarily. He's not small, though. But he's just like a big guy that, I don't know, has a strong will, strong attitude. And he loves gold. So I kept thinking that Goldfinger was tied into like Spectre. And I don't think he is. And he's just doing this because he says like he's loved gold forever. And he's got his own gold collection, and it's like he would do anything to like either get more gold or pollute everyone else's gold to make his the most valuable. So I think that's pretty cool of a plot. So overall, if I have to give Goldfinger a grade, which I've reviewed Goldfinger on the channel before, and I don't remember exactly what I gave it. For me, this is a masterpiece for a James Bond film. Now, I'm not saying that there's probably quite a few movies on my collection that I would rather watch over Goldfinger, just because like I kind of know what I'm getting with this. There's not any like crazy plot twists. There's not any like major character stuff. But if we're just talking about James Bond films, I feel like this is the first masterpiece, and it's one of the best and will always be one of the best. It offers you pretty much everything, like a really good villain plot, a really strong villain. Sean Connery's at his best. Opening sequence is good. Pussy Galore is a great Bond girl. The Bond theme, or the Bond song, the Goldfinger song, it's iconic. It's good. I think it works as like the theme in the movie of I think that works. It's not one of my favorite Bond songs, but I like it. Or I like it enough, I should say. This is the debut of the DB5, which is iconic Bond car. It's got just the right amount of gadgets. The Q scene's good in this movie. And the scenery's good. Like I said, I think Miami works at the very beginning. Like I said, I like the Scotland area. I like Kentucky. I think that all works. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, very little complaints. Odd Job, like I said, great henchman. So, yeah, I'd give it a masterpiece. If I'm not counting it just for Bond films, if I'm just saying in general, for me, this is a very strong buy it, own it, and maybe masterpiece. But, yeah, like I still would probably rather watch the Pierce Brosnan Bonds more than this, just because he's my Bond that I grew up watching. But this is Connery's best. And now that I've rewatched the Connery films, I'd probably say that Goldfinger's first for me. And then I'd go You Only Live Twice. Then Diamonds Are Forever, which I know everyone thinks is blasphemous. But for me, I had more fun in that movie. And then I'd go From Russia with Love, Dr. No. I don't know. Those are tough because Dr. No, From Russia with Love, Thunderball, I kind of mix them all together in the sense of they have some good parts, but there's other parts that I'm like, eh. I don't know. Maybe Thunderball actually ranks higher than I remember because I need to reacquire it because I sold it. And now that I've watched those movies again, I feel like the first three out of the four of the first Connery films, I don't think were all that strong, but that's just my opinion. Yeah, so that's it for this one. The next one we have is A View to a Kill, which I've never seen before. This is the last Bond film I haven't seen. And then the one right after that, the last Bond film that I'll be reviewing is Live and Let Die, which, folks, I've seen Live and Let Die countless times. I grew up watching it. I don't know why that was the random one that I think it was just it was on Spike a lot back in the day, and I watched it a lot. And then I bought it on DVD, and I was like, Live and Let Die is great. And like I said, for some reason, there's just so many other ones that just slip through the cracks. I'm really excited to do my Bond rankings, so stay tuned for that. This has been my Goldfinger review. Yeah, watch Goldfinger. Have a good one, guys.